Right. Okay, Lamai, today my focus. Today we are going to complete the second part of the tube. The second day of the inflation lesson. Okay, the Lamai. Last night, we discussed how price index is prepared and and what are the main price indexes which are currently used in Sri Lanka. These are the things. And also, Lamai, finally, I did one example regarding price, the GDP deflator, and went on that calculating inflation rate. How to calculate inflation rate, when you are given price index. Okay, the Lamai. Right. Okay. With that, Lamai, we can start today's session. Page number 9. Tute, inflation tute, price level tute, page number 9. Can you see the screen, Lamai? Hello? Yes? Ayapi and Remoni, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Now, are you okay, Buddha?
Yes.
Right. Inflation and rate of inflation, page number 9. Right. Now, what is mean by inflation and rate of inflation? Remember, Lamai, inflation, as I told you yesterday also, this after this point, okay, we are going to evaluate, we are going to, interpret data or informations of data of price indexes. You are given price indexes. Based on that price index value, how we make decisions. That is the important one. This is the heart and center of the lesson, right? Inflation and rate of inflation, right? Buddha, remember, in economics, can anyone tell me what the inflation is? Am I inflation? How to define inflation?
A sudden increase of the prices of goods and services.
Goods and services. Which increase, Buddha?
Sudden increase.
Sudden increase. Okay, good. Any different definitions? I mean, I'm not asking like perfect definition. What do you know about inflation? If you hear this word, right, what comes to your mind instantly? Yes, Tanvir, inflation. Anyone? Nominal GDP. Okay. Lama, yes. Normally, we can say inflation is increasing general price level, or we can say increase price of goods and services. That's okay, Lama, right? Those who don't know economics or other people, those who have not learned economics can say generally, even myself also, okay, the Lama, define inflation as okay, inflation is we can say increasing prices of goods and services. Okay, but Lamai, when it comes to this lesson, that definition is not enough. Okay, that definition is it's not strong enough to define inflation. In economics, especially for your exam, Lamai, remember You should be able to define inflation perfectly. That definition should be comprehensive. That definition should be what? Comprehensive. Okay, the lamai. This is the correct way of defining inflation. Inflation means, give me 1 minute, I'll use whiteboard. Inflation is continuous lamai. Inflation means what is mean by inflation lamai? A continuous is a very important one, Punara, not sudden. Okay, it should be continuous. Continuous increase. Continuous increase. Okay, the lamai. Or we can say uh, continuous or sustained. We use that word also. Sustained idiom. Sustained increase in Sandil general price level. Increase in which not prices of all goods and services, in general price level. General price level. General price level. You can use average price level also, but this is a technically perfect word. General price level over period of time. Over a period of time. Over period of. Okay, the lamai. This is called inflation. How to define inflation? Continuous. Or remember this word also, lamai. Sustained. What is the word? Sustained. 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 Or persistent. Persistent. T-A-N-T. If I'm not your persistent. E-N-T. Persistent. But we use both these words. Continuous increase in general price level or sustained or persistent rise in general price level over a period of time is called inflation. Remember, Lamai, inflation is not temporary price increase. Remember that point forever. Example, Lamai, if general price level increases like this, reduce, goes up, then goes down, again goes up, goes down. No, this is not inflation. Okay, the lamai. Inflation means continuous increase. Continuous increase in general price. Continuous increase. Okay, this is called. Are you okay with this? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sandhi. Right. Continuous increase in general price level or sustained or we can say persistent. Right. Okay. And also, Lamai, I want to emphasize, I want to stress inflation does not refer to the increase in price of all goods and services. No, it's talking about general price, right? Or in other words, we can say, Lamai, even during inflationary time period, Lamai, assume Sri Lankan inflation rate 5%. Although, right, even though there's a higher rate of inflation, okay, the Lamai, price of one good, price of one good can remain constant or may decrease even, Lama. Doesn't matter. Because we are talking about general price, like average, right? Which is shown by price index value. Okay, the Lama. So it doesn't mean that inflation does not mean that prices of all goods and services increase at same time. No. We can't expect all prices of all goods and services to increase during inflation. General price level increases. That is called remember that one. And Lamai, there's another big mistake. Okay, the people make this mistake. You might have heard some people say now in Sri Lanka, the inflation is really high. Government should control inflation. The inflation means a general phenomenon. We cannot reduce or increase inflation. No, increase in general price level is called inflation, right? We cannot reduce or central bank can do nothing with inflation. It's a general phenomenon. We can reduce rate of inflation. We can say now Sri Lankan inflation rate is 6%. The Sri Lankan, CBS, Central Bank of Sri Lanka, should be, able to get this back, right? The bring this rate back to, let's say, moderate level, like let's say, 3%. It is talking about rate of inflation, not the inflation. Inflation, as I told you, is a general phenomenon. Okay, it's a general phenomenon. Right? That word is given, that definition is given to, sustain or continuous rise in general price level. Okay, the lamai. So 6%, 3%, 2%, or maybe 100% refers to rate of inflation. Remember, rate of inflation, not the we can't reduce inflation. Any doubt? No. Right. Put a star mark and write down lamai the definition of inflation and rate of inflation. Rate of inflation means lamai how much it is happening, the intensity. Okay, the lamai. Right. Put a star mark and write down inflation. Inflation refers to a. Huda, I need 1 minute. Okay, the lamai. Write down. Write down lamai. Inflation refers to. Inflation refers to. Inflation refers to. Refers to a persistent. Persistent, or we can say lamai sustained. Sustained. Sustained increase in general price level. Increase in general price level. General price level. Increase in general price level. Price level of an economy. Of an economy. Economy over a period of time. Period of time. Period of time. In the time of inflation, in the time of inflation. Time of inflation. General price level. General price level. General price level continuously increases. General price level. General price level. General price level continuously. Continuously. General price level continuously increases. Continuously increases, and it is not. It is. It is not. It is not a temporary increase. Temporary increase. Temporary increase in price level. Increase in price levels. Price. Okay, the lamai. Continuously increasing general price. So the highlight, and remember, inflation refers to a sustained, okay, sustained, or we can say persistent increasing general price level. General price level over period of time, and in the time of inflation, general price level continuously increases, and it's not a temporary increase in prices. Okay, the lamai. Remember these few points, lamai. Shall we move on, lamai? Next point. Then Putta, we can use this. Can you, sorry, can you see the page number 9, last paragraph? Putta, this definition also correct. Alternatively, this is a situation where purchasing power of domestic currency. Yes, because Lamai, when there is persistent rising general price level, okay, if inflation rate is there, if there's a higher rate of inflation, Lamai, what happens to purchasing power? The goods and services that people can buy for their income falls, Lamai. That is called reducing purchasing. So alternatively, we can say, Lamai, inflation mean continuous reduction in purchasing power of domestic currency unit. That one also correct, Lamai. Right? Inflation is measured using inflation rate or rate of inflation. That's why I told you. Inflation rate mean is the measurement. Inflation is a general phenomenon, right? It is measured numerically using rate of inflation. Okay. Next one, Lamai. It is even in an economy experience, this part is really important now. Even in an economy experiencing inflation, comma, lama, yeah, inflation, comma, price of all goods in the economy may not necessarily increase, lama. No need such a condition, lama. We can't expect prices of all goods and services to rise during inflationary time period. No, Lamai. No such a the condition. Price of all goods and service may not necessarily rise. In fact, the price of certain goods may remain relatively constant, Lamai. Example, during higher rate of inflation, during the time period of higher rate of inflation, Lamai, price of let's say lamai price of laptop, price of one good like let's say matchbox or something, right? Price of one fresh milk may remain constant lamai, no issue, right? And others even decrease. Yes, inflation is discussed in the context of average price movements of all goods. Average price movements of all, it's mean general price level. Okay, and not in terms of each individual product or product category. Inflation is measured using the inflation rate or rate of the inflation. Any doubt, Lamai? Remember this one. Now, don't say, right, when you define inflation, okay, the Lamai, make very perfect definition. Okay, just don't just say increase in prices of goods and services is called inflation. No, totally wrong, Lamai. Generally, it's okay, Lamai, but in subject, right? Rate of inflation, Lamai, as I told you, inflation is a general phenomenon. Okay, the Lamai. The rate of inflation is the measurement, right? The rate of inflation refers to percentage change in the general price level of a given economy during a given financial year or point of time relative to another financial year. Okay, the Lama. In other words, the percentage increase in present years. Yes, I give you the equation. Write down the equation for calculating inflation rate. Write down Lama, rate of inflation equals rate of inflation equals rate of inflation equals write down Lama, rate of inflation equals rate of inflation equals, we did one calculation yesterday. Inflation rate equals present years present presents present years price index value, CPI value, price index value minus previous years years CPI value lamai. CPI mean consumer price, or we can say price index value. Previous year's price index value divided by same thing lamai. Previous year price index into 100 index because it's given, it's disclosed, it's presented as a percentage, so this one need to be multiplied by 100. Okay, the lamai. Let me know once you are done and other part.
Done, sir.
Done. Others Putta, Sandil, finish Remoni, Ayatmi.
Done, sir.
Right. Next point, Puta. This is really important part. Inflation, deflation, disinflation, stagflation. You need to, there are how many conditions, sorry, how many components, Lamai? 1, 2, 3, 4. You should have thorough idea. Okay, the Lamai. Comprehensive, idea regarding these 4 concepts, Lamai. What are the 4 concepts? Inflation, deflation, disinflation, stagflation. Okay, the Lamai. Right. First one, inflation, I'm not going to explain. I hope you have got the idea. Okay, how to define inflation? Write down the definition, Lamai. Inflation, write down, Lamai. Inflation, we can say a persistent. Persistent, persistent, or we can say sustained, sustained increase, increase in general price level, general price level. General price level over period of time.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, Puta.
The screen is not sharing.
Oh. Now can you see?
Yes, sir.
Sustained or continuous rise in general price level is called inflation. I've given you too much space. Okay, the Lamai? Yes. Right, deflation. So that deflation means opposite of inflation. Persistent or sustained reduction in general price level. What is meant by deflation, Lamai? A fall in general, sustained, I mean, continuous fall in general price level is called deflation. Okay, the Lamai, deflation. But the Japan experienced, right? Japan had been experiencing deflation for more than 3 years, Lamai. Especially during 2011 and 2014, Lamai, in Japan, there was a deflation. Deflation means, Lamai, simple idea, prices of goods and services starts to reduce. So that, do you think that it's good thing or economy? That, remember, if you hear deflation, this country is experiencing deflation. It doesn't mean that, Lamai, country is good. Country is performing well. No. So that deflation, it's more worst, okay, the Lamai, than the worse than inflation, right? Because deflation shows that deflation happens due to the contract in economy, Lamai. When economy contracts, especially when aggregate demand falls, economy starts to contract. All economy, I mean, with simple idea, Lama, economy is not performing well. During that time period, price level or general price level could decrease. This is called deflation. Remember, Lamai, if a country go into a deflation, go into a deflation, it's very difficult. Definitely, Lama, it will end up with mess. Okay, it's worse than hyperinflation. Hyperinflation means higher rate of inflation, right? So if if countries fall into deflation, Lamai, it's very difficult to bring it back. to the normal lamai, back to normal, right? So deflation in economics lamai, deflation, someone might, someone might be thinking, nah, so inflation is not good because our purchasing power decreases, but deflation might be good. No, not at all. Remember that point, lamai. Deflation occurs when economy contracts, lamai. Economy is not performing well. Best example, lamai, during Second World War time period, lamai, inflation also there, but Germany, lamai, the deflation, there was deflation time period. During that time period, lamai, that inflation rate or the general price level uh, started to reduce. Okay, the lamai, fall in general price level. So it's not the sign of good thing, lamai, right? It does not mean that economy is doing well, right? That is called deflation. I'll repeat, lamai. Uh, if a country goes to a deflation, lamai, finally it will end up with mess. It's a huge, difficult situation, lamai. It's very difficult. That's why I told you, deflation is worse than even hyperinflation sometimes, lamai, right? It's very difficult to. It's difficult for a central bank to get the get economy back to the norm, right? That is called deflation. Any doubt, lamai? So remember, mainly deflation occurs when aggregate demand contracts. When aggregate demand contracts. Okay, write down, lamai, deflation, a sustained tendency. Write down a sustained tendency. Tendency means possibility, lamai. Sustained tendency where sorry, I'm sorry. Sorry, oh, sorry, Daru, talking about this. Write down, deflation mean a continuous, persistent tendency. We can say persistent reduction in general price level, in general price level over period of of okay, the lamai, period of, remember, forever it's not good sign, lamai. It's totally negative. It's worse than even hyper. As I told you, the main point is, lamai, if a country goes to a higher, deflationary situation, lamai, it's very difficult. Right? It's very difficult to get that country back to normal. Right? That is called deflation. Deflation, if you want, write it down, lamai. Deflation occurs due to lack of aggregate demand, lamai. Aggregate demand means total demand for goods and services economy. When aggregate demand decreases, lamai, inflation might occur. Any doubt, lamai? Anything? Any clarification? Hello? No?
No, sir.
Sandil, Remoni, Ayatmi? Right. Deflation. Sorry. Now, next one is, lamai, disinflation, not deflation. So that disinflation mean, remember, uh, disinflation is a situation where rate of inflation falls, not general price level falls, right? Inflation rate falls. Example, lamai, after economic crisis in 2022, we experienced disinflation. Which means, lamai, at the beginning, inflation rate was really high. Okay, the llama, with time it starts to reduce. I'm not talking about general price level. Inflation rate reduces. Okay, the llama, which is known as disinflation. Disinflation. Okay, the llama. Disinflation. Listen, llama, I'll use whiteboard. What is mean by deflation? Sorry, disinflation. Sandil, disinflation. The inflation means increase in general price level. General price level increases. This is inflation. This is inflation. Deflation means general price level goes down. This is deflation level. Deflation. Mostly it is caused by lack of aggregate demand. Right? But the disinflation means fall in inflation rate. Example, assume 2022 Sri Lankan inflation rate is 9%. Lamai. Just imagine that this rate went up to 70% in 2022. Just imagine now 9%. What does it mean, Lamai? In 2022, general price level increases by 9% with comparison to last year. Okay, increases. General price level increase. Next year, 2023, assume inflation rate is 6%, Lamai. Still general price level rises, Lamai. Price average price or general price level keeps rising. At which rate? 6%. That percentage, that the incentives intensity is lesser than 9%. Still prices of goods and services increase, Lamai. In 2023, the prices of goods and services increase, Lamai, but at a lower rate. At a lower rate, Lamai. This is called disinflation. Deflation, name disinflation. Okay, the Lamai. It's like this. This example, Lamai, next year, 2024, assume inflation rate is 4.5. This is called disinflation. Called disinflation. Which means, Lamai, if you put this data into a graph, general price level, at the beginning it increases like this. Okay, the Lamai. Now, up to this point, inflation rate increases at an increasing rate. That's why this curve has this shape. Okay, the Lamai. Disinflation mean, Lamai, still general price level increases, but at a decreasing rate. At a decreasing rate. That's called disinflation. Example here, inflation rate, assume 6%, 9%, and 11% up to this point, right? After this point, Lamai, still general price level increase keeps rising, but at a lower rate. That's why this curve, it has this shape, Lamai. You get the point. So if you feel this uncomfortable, forget it. So what I need to say, Lamai, disinflation means fall in inflation rate. Puta, I want you to show disinflation on an arrow like this. To indicate disinflation, Sandil, how should I point this arrow? It should be pointing downward or upward? Pointing down or pointing up? I want, how should I put the arrow? Yes, to indicate disinflation. Alamai. Anyone? Alamai? How to show disinflation using arrow like this? Sorry, not disinflation. Yes. How to show disinflation using arrow like this? Should it be pointing down or pointing up? Punara? Inflation means general price level increases. Arrow pointing up. Deflation means general price level decreases. Arrow pointing down. I want you to show disinflation using arrow like this. Punara? Should it be, pointing upward, up or down? Disinflation.
Down.
Disinflation. General price level increases at a lower rate, Punara. It's upward, pointing up. But that rate is lesser than this one. Okay, the lama. That's why I have used this small arrow. Still general price level increases. Still increases. General price level rises, but at a lower rate. Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. Right. දැන් මේ විතර තමයි තවත් තේරෙන්න කිව්වොත් මෙහෙම මේ. තව හිතන term test එකකට plus term test, right? Grade 12 plus term test. Grade 12 plus term test. හිතන්න ඔයාගේ marks 40 කියලා ළමයි. 100 වලින් 40. හරිද? Grade 12 වල second term test එකට දැන් ඔයා ගන්නවා ළමයි 65. 65. Then you can see your marks has increased ළමයි. At a which percentage, Lama? If you calculate, it's all with the always percentage, Lama. So no need to calculate it separately. How much a percentage change in marks, Lama? 25%. Your marks has increased by 25%. Assume, Lama, grade 12 third term test, your marks increases to 71. And you can see, Lama, your marks keeps increasing. But rate, if you calculate rate of increase in your marks for third term, Lamai, it will be 6%. Wage marks increase, හැබැයි rate එක අර කලින් තරම් නෑ ළමයි. 25% නේ first term එකේ. ඊට පස්සේ but still, right? You're being appreciated, okay, the ළමයි. Teachers admire you, oh wow, wonderful, you're what a player you are, right? At very first term test, right? You got 40, then lamai 65. What an achievement it was, like, right? Appreciation coming from everywhere, right? From parents, teachers. Okay, the lamai. Next term test, still lamai, then you have scored 71. Marks keeps rising, but rate is low. That rate is lower than 25%. This is called disinflation. Disinflation means lama general price level rises. Inflation is there, but that rate continuously falls. That is called disinflation. Any doubt? Any doubt, lama? No.
No, sir.
Right. Put a star marker, write down lama disinflation. disinflation. Right now lamai sustained tendency 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 where the rate of inflation the rate of sorry, the rate of inflation the rate of inflation falls over a period of time period of period of time. Okay, the lamai rate of inflation falls. Rate of inflation. Remember, rate of inflation. Okay, the lamai. Yes, Buddha, if you want, write this example down. 2023 inflation rate this much. පොඩි ටේබල් එකක් දාලා පුතා එක්සාම්පල් එකක් දාගන්න 2023 වල මම අර කලින් දැම්ම වගේ ඉන්ෆ්ලේෂන් රේට් එක දාන්නේ 8% ඊට පස්සේ next year එක 6% ඊට පස්සේ එක 4%, right? We can see a reduction in rate of inflation, not the general price level. General price level is increasing, but a rate of increasing general price level continuously falls. That is called disinflation. Okay, the lamai disinflation. Disinflation. If you have any doubt, Lama, let me know. Any unclear point? Disinflation, Lama. Inflation, you can use table like this. Year and rate of inflation. Rate of inflation. Rate of year 2022 rate of inflation, assume Lamai, it's 9%. 2023 Lamai inflation rate falls to 6%. Right? 2024 inflation rate, assume it's 4%. And what happens? Inflation rate falls. This is called disinflation. Right? Inflation, rate of inflation falls. This is called disinflation. Disinflation. Right. Okay, Buddha. Next one is stagflation. Right. Buddha, listen me very carefully. If you want these three arrows, Lama, write it down. If you want, otherwise forget it. Buddha, let me know once you are done. Yes.
Done.
Done. Right. There's another topic called stagflation. Stagflation, sorry. Not inflation. stagflation. Now listen me very carefully. In economics, there is a theory called that's called Phillips curve. Which curve lamai? Phillips curve. This is called Phillips curve analysis. 0. So the Philip, that's one of the economists in our subject. Okay. One axis shows the unemployment rate. Unemployment rate. Unemployment rate. Unemployment means no jobs. Just remember, right? They are willing to work but no opportunity. Unemployment rate percentage. Okay? As a percentage. On the other side, my vertical axis shows inflation rate. Inflation rate. Percentage. Lamai, Phillips says there is a negative relationship between these two variables. What are the variables, Lamai? Inflation rate and unemployment rate. What does it mean, Lamai? If unemployment rate is very low, assume unemployment rate is 2%. The unemployment rate is low. Okay, it indicates low unemployment rate indicates economy is performing well. Why? People have jobs, they earn. That's why the rate is low. Unemployment rate is really low, 2%. Mean economy is performing well. So people have more money, especially for consumers, businesses as well. Then remember the aggregate demand contains 4 components: consumption, investment, government expenditure, and net export. Okay. So remember the one of reasons, right? One of the reasons for inflation is rise in aggregate demand. Rise in aggregate, I'll explain later on. There are 2 main reasons for inflation. First one, demand full. Other one, cost push. Demand full mean inflation is caused, or rise in general price level is caused by higher demand, aggregate demand, excessive aggregate demand. That is called demand full inflation. So what I need to say, when aggregate demand is, sorry, unemployment rate is low, people work and they earn much. So they can spend more. Okay, then what happens to consumption expenditure, investment expenditure? All of them increase, Then aggregate demand increases, When aggregate demand increases too much, when aggregate demand increases too much, that's one of main reasons for the inflation. So what I need to say, when at low unemployment rate, country can experience higher rate of inflation due to excessive aggregate demand. Okay, assume inflation rate is 9%. Okay, Phillips says if unemployment rate is high, assume unemployment rate is 10%. The high unemployment rate means economy does not perform well. Economy is not performing well, no jobs, businesses are making losses. Okay, so 10% mean is not, economy is not performing well, so people don't have much money. Their income level reduces, so their spending capacity reduces, consumption expenditure, investment expenditure reduces, aggregate demand reduces. When aggregate demand reduces, inflation rate goes down. Then when unemployment rate is high, inflation rate is low. Assume inflation rate is 3%. So remember, always, right? Philip says, based on research, right? Not like his own idea, no. Right? Based on research, he has proved that there's a negative relationship unemployment rate and inflation rate. Which means the Philip says both of them, okay, cannot occur at same time. Higher rate of inflation and higher rate of unemployment. No. This is called type of paradox. Paradox means totally opposite concepts happen same time. That's called paradox. But Philip says, Lamai, it will never happen. Why? Because there's a if unemployment rate is high, inflation rate should be low. If inflation rate is low, unemployment rate should be okay. Both of them, both are adverse, Lamai, unfavorable. Unemployment rate also not good, inflation also not good. Right? So Philip says, this theory says both of them, unemployment, high rate of unemployment and high rate of inflation rate could not occur at same time. If it happens, that is called type of paradox, right? Totally, opposite two things happen at same time. This is called Philip's curve. This is not stagflation. Any doubt in this theory, Lama? Sandil, Punara? Yes? Lama? Yeah. No. Punara? No. Remoni? Ayatni?
No, sir.
No. Remoni? Punara, are you okay with this? Punara, hello, are you there? Puta, are you okay with this? Remoni?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Next point, Lamai, then this is called a Phillips curve. But when it comes to stagflation, Lamai, moving to 2022 financial crisis, we had severe rate of inflation, very high rate of inflation. It went up to even 70%. Okay, I think you do remember that, how we experienced that, right? How we suffer during that time period. No fuel, no electricity, Lamai, prices of goods and services rising, okay, the Lamai kept on rising. Okay, so for that during, then according to Phillips curve, Lamai, Phillips analysis, if inflation rate is high, unemployment rate should be low, Lamai. But in Sri Lanka, we experienced something special. We had both of them together. Anyway, we are special, Lamai, Sri Lankans, right? We have been special for a long period of time now, right? So during 2022, Lamai, actually it was one of the key incidents. Okay, uh, both unemployment and higher rate of inflation happen same time, like a paradox. Okay, the Lamai, totally complete two things happen at same. Okay, right. So stagflation mean this is called slumplation. Slump, Lamai, slump. Stagflation. Stagflation mean it is a situation where both higher rate of unemployment and high rate of inflation happen at same time. Okay, the Lama, this is called stagflation. Okay, the Lama. So some economists argue that in 2022 Sri Lanka experienced type of not inflation, because inflation occurred not alone, occurred with higher rate of unemployment. Okay, this is called stagflation. Any doubt, Lama? No. Right. Put a star marker, write down stagflation. Buddha, this is very difficult situation, right? Stagflation means it's very difficult situation. Why? Unemployment rate also high, inflation rate also. People don't have, very people have very low income. When they go to the market, Lama, goods and services, prices of goods and services also very high. Then less income, less amount of goods and services can be bought. So this is really, really unlucky and also very difficult. This is called slumpflation or stagflation. Okay, the lamai. Right, put a star mark and write down. Actually, this summation is against Phillips curve, right? Stagflation, write down. Stagflation, write down lamai. A situation where both inflation and unemployment, inflation and unemployment, unemployment, unemployment rise, unemployment rise at the same time, at the same time, at the same time. Okay, lamai. Does not often happen, lamai. Not usual thing, normal thing. It's very special thing, but we experience during our financial crisis. Okay, the lamai. Within bracket write down, this is called slump. E F L A, slump. Okay, the lamai. Right. Okay. Any doubt, lamai? No? Shall we move on, lamai? Yes.
Okay, sir.
Next one, Putta, the this these concepts are really important. First one, we are going to discuss the key differences among these concepts. Lamai, number one, headline inflation and core inflation. Lamai have very good understanding about headline and core inflation. Lamai, it's going to be my next point, explanation point. For that, then types of inflation. For that, this is moderate, galloping, and hyperinflation. Means this categorization based on intensity, rate of inflation. If rate of inflation is low, like one single digit lama, example 5%, 3%, it is called moderate level. Okay, the lama. Then if that rate more than 10%, less than 100% is called galloping inflation. Based on intensity lama, the rate, how much is inflation rising, right? Hyperinflation. Though these three totally based on intensity of inflation. Next one, Putta, inflation rate measurement, monthly, year on year, and annual average. This is much important, not much important, but I have given you a separate note at. Okay, the lamai. Headline core inflation is really important. Still, last day you ask what are the important areas, lamai. Okay, it's really really important for inflation and headline. Okay, the lamai. And types of inflation also. And last part, lamai. If you go through past papers, lamai, more than 60% of question in this lesson, okay, have come from demand pull inflation and supply or cost push. Last part is really, really, really only last one. Okay, the lamai. Right. Next one. I'll use red color. Last one. Last, inflation, reasons for inflation. causes, why inflation occurs. This is really important. It doesn't mean that other points in the tute are not important. No, 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 no. This is much, much, much really important. Right. Okay, Lama. Difference between disinflation and deflation. Now you know, right? You can, yeah. What is the difference between disinflation and deflation? First one is about deflation. Inflation tend to decrease. Yes, put a star mark and write down, Lama. That this point that we have already discussed. Write down disinflation. Right, disinflation mean Punara disinflation.
The situation where the rate of inflation
Yes, very good.
falls.
The rate of write down the situation where the rate of inflation falls. Yeah, the rate of inflation. Rate of inflation. Rate of inflation. That's enough, Lama. It's too much space. In other words, the rate of inflation tend to decrease while economy may continue to experience inflation. Yes, Lama. Inflation is there, as I explained, but that rate keeps reducing. Okay, the Lama. Next one, deflation. Deflation means continuous reduction in, not inflation, right? General price. Right now, sustained reduction. Sustained reduction in the general price level. General price level. General. That's called deflation. I want you to remember this part also. The negative impacts of deflation. Negative impacts of deflation. Negative impacts of, general price level going down. Deflationary situation is generally, as I told you, in this deflationary situation is generally result of decrease in aggregate demand or contracting in reducing over a prolonged period of time, can create number of unfavorable effects within an economy. That's why I told you, Lamai, if an economy goes to a deflation, okay, the Lamai, it will end up with huge problem. Okay, the Lamai, and also it's very difficult for the central bank or monetary authority to get the economy back to the normal. Okay, the Lamai. These are the negative impacts of deflation. Discourage investments, Lamai, because aggregate demand falls. There's no spending on good. Example, Lamai, if this businessman, business expects you guys to spend more. Businessman want people to spend more, Lamai. Otherwise, how do they sell their products? There should be huge demand for goods and services. But when aggregate demand falls, okay, the demand for goods and services reduce, and businessmen discourage. So investment discouraged. They are not willing to invest in the long-term projects because of low aggregate demand. Next one, macroeconomic instability. Macroeconomic instability, not good for inflation. Sorry, balance of payment, and also it's not good for economic growth, especially. Economic growth also falls. Lack of aggregate demand mean economic growth falls. Next one, Lama, increases unemployment because businesses are not performing well, so there may be job redundance, right? People will lose their jobs. Then Lama, yes, the highest point of deflation is called economic recession. Lama. Highest point of deflation is called economic. Really, really unfortunate and also very difficult situation. Okay, the Lama. Very difficult for economies to overcome this problem. Okay, right. Next one, Lamai, the difference that we need more time for this one. The difference between disinflation and deflation. Sandil, Unara, Emoni, Atmi.
That's
Then Put I told you that inflation also not good. Deflation also not good. Then what is the good one? Huh? Alam. Sandil. Keep saying that inflation is not good. Yes, it's not good. High rate of inflation, equilibrium. Okay. High rate of inflation is not good. Deflation also not good. Deflation is worse than even inflation. Which what is the which then what is the recommendation, Lama? How do you make a conclusion, sir? How should we maintain price level? In which range? Right? Which range should we keep our price level in? Okay, Lama, right? This is the answer for that question. Write this down. All not. It's a number line. I'll use this with this number line. Right? Do you know number line? Oh, grade 6 mathematics. මතකද මෙයාව ළමයි? 0 තියනවා මෙතන අර පොඩි කාලේ කරේ ළමයි. 0 1% මේ ඔක්කොම percentages ළමයි. හරි? Percentages. This rate of inflation ළමයි 1%, 2%, plus 3%, 4%, 5%, and so on. -1, -2, -3. Okay, ළමයි. These are inflation rates. Inflation rate. ළමයි, remember, deflation mean ළමයි negative inflation rate. This is called this part. I mean, if inflation rate is less than 0, if it goes with minus values, that is called deflation. This distance shows the indicates a deflation. Deflation. Which means general price level goes down. Puta, this is totally unfavorable. This is not good situation. We have to avoid it as soon as possible. Deflation. Right? This is not good. Lamai, higher rate of inflation, I can say lamai more than 3%. This area, 10%, 9%, 100% inflation rate. There's no exact rate. The cutoff mark, I can't say like 3%, more than 3% is not good, less than 3%. There's no exact ratio, but normally lamai, right? Generally accepted way, we can say less than 10%, 3%. That's good lamai, right? This side lamai more than 3%. I mean, these rates, these are called higher rate of inflation or hyperinflation, right? Higher rate of inflation, excessive rate of inflation. Puta, this is called a higher rate of inflation. Higher rate of inflation. Puta, this also not good. Our target is every central bank wants to keep their price level or inflation rate within this moderate rate. What is the rate lamai? Maximum I can say lamai 1 to 3%. 1 to 3%. This is called one lower single digit. Can't pronounce that lamai. Digit. Right? The low single digit rate. Right? Keeping inflation rate in a low level of inflation. One example of my 1.5, 2%, 2.5 in wonderful. This is called low and stable inflation. What is mean by price stability? Price stability mean, the maintaining the economy with low and stable inflation. Low and stable inflation means, remember, Lamai, this is the most favorable range of inflation. Okay, the Lamai. This green range, sorry, nil. Okay, it shows that the nil color Lamai shows the what the favorable range of inflation, the favorable rates of inflation. Okay, the Lamai. So this is called, so every economy wants to keep inflation within this range, right? This is called moderate level inflation. Okay, low and stable inflation. Deflation is not good. Inflation which is more than 3% or 3.5 also not good. Hyperinflation means totally, okay, the Lamai, it's not good at all. This is the rate that we need to maintain. Any doubt? Lamai, any doubt?
No, sir.
Sandeep, should I write this down? This is a generally accepted rule. Conclusion for inflation, rate of inflation need to be kept. No issue, right? Right. Next point, Lamai. Core inflation and headline inflation. So sorry. Right. The difference between core inflation and headline inflation. Right. Listen to me very carefully. Lamai, uh, headline inflation, or we say top line or nominal inflation, is the inflation which is at the inflation rate which is measured by using price indexes. Lamai. If you calculate inflation rate based on CCPI values, consumer price index values given, okay, the Lamai, you will see this headline inflation rate. Which rate? Headline inflation rate. Headline inflation rate. Listen be very carefully. Headline inflation. Put a star mark and write down headline inflation. Write down headline inflation refers. Headline inflation refers. I'll explain the difference between these two after the definition. Okay, write down headline inflation. Headline inflation refers to headline inflation refers to headline inflation refers to the actual increase, refers to the can't you see the sorry. Headline inflation refers to the actual increase increase in the general price level, in the general price level, in the general price level, the general price level, so we can say general price of goods and services, 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 comma, as measured by, as measured by, measured by the standard consumer price indexes, the standard consumer price indexes, consumer price indexes. This is really important. Last part put up before making any adjustment, making before making any adjustment. Okay, before making any. That's I told you inflation, the inflation rate which is calculated based on price index value. Price index means CC in consumer price index. Price index is called headline inflation. Headline inflation. Okay, right. Listen to me very carefully. Headline inflation. Right. I assume CCPI value, Colombo Consumer Price Index, 2024 price index value is 150. Okay, the base year value is 100. Sandil. Now for 2022 4, after after the central bank calculate the value of CCPI, assume value is 150. Okay, index number 2025 after 1 year, this index number increases to 158. Can you calculate? Can you calculate inflation rate for year 2025, Punara, Sandeep? For inflation rate for year 2025. How to calculate, Punara? Inflation rate. Anyone? How to calculate inflation rate for year 2025, Laman?
158 minus 150 divided by 150 into 100%.
100. Very good. 158, this year price index value minus previous value 150 divided by 150 into 100. Can you tell me the answer, Putta? It should be less than 8%. I can say less than 8%. 8 divided by 1. How much the value?
5.3.
Very good. The 5.3%, right? Sandil, thank you. 5.3%. This is the inflation rate, Lama. But this inflation rate is called headline inflation. Top line, no? Headline inflation. Headline inflation is the inflation rate of inflation, which is shown or calculated based on price index values, consumer price index value. So remember, Lamai, this is called headline inflation. So that is headline inflation. Headline. Headline inflation. According to my example, it's 5.3%. So that this inflation rate is caused increasing this price level is caused, right, by two main reasons. The number one is temporary supply shocks. First one is temporary supply shocks. Okay, the lamai. So what is mean by temporary supply shocks? The best example lamai during that our cyclone lamai, Ditwa cyclone, which happened on 26th of November. Okay, the lamai. Soon after the cyclone, okay, the lamai, I went to food cities, Maragama, Kegoda. Okay, the lamai. My God, prices of goods and services were really high, and also lamai, goods and especially goods, fruits and vegetables were not available, right? So these are not permanent supply, I mean price changes. These changes are caused by temporary supply shocks. It can be cyclone, flood, these natural disasters, or we can say time period in which we can say war going on. There's a war, conflicts. Okay, example, then now we can say Russia and Ukraine. Okay, the Iran, Israel. Okay, there's a problem, and oil prices, sudden change in world oil prices. These are supply shocks. These are beyond control. Central bank or monetary authority is not able to control. Can central bank control the cyclone and all? No, impossible. So, but this inflation rate, okay, the one part, the 5.3, inflation rate, uh, 5.3, this is caused by, right? I mean, one part of part 5.3 coming from temporary supply shocks. This is very temporary, lamai, right? Mainly due to, we can say, lamai, at natural disasters, right? War, conflicts, and sudden changes in oil prices, and geopolitical, problems, lamai. Okay, political instability in the world. Okay, these are called temporary supply shocks. Okay, the lamai. Other one is lamai, non-reversible. It's mean lamai cannot be reversed, right? Reversible price change. So that this is very slow but sure. Okay, this is permanent price change, permanent price change. Listen to me very carefully, Lamai. You might have heard that your grandparents, your Achisiya, okay, the Lamai, they share their experiences, lamai, childhood experiences, and experiences of young age. Okay, the lamai, they say in our childhood, okay, the lamai, price of 1 unit of sugar or rice was 5 cents lam. එම කියනවා නේද? අපි මේමත් කරලා මේමත් කළා. එම කියනවා නේද ළමයි? Sometimes it's very difficult to hear. You might have experience ළමයි. Keep explaining same story in their old age, right? Anyway, they explain lama, they say 1960, okay, the lama, 1960, price of one rice unit was 5 cents, right? My salary was 5 rupees, right? Cost of living, was 3 rupees per month. No, they are correct, lama, right? No any issue. 5-6 years, decades ago, lamai, yes, cost of living was really, really low. Okay, Lamai, that's true. But Lamai, after 5 decades, after 50 years, Lamai, that can we expect same prices for goods and services? Sandil, can we expect, the same prices, 5 cents for 1 unit of rice, 6 cents for 1 unit of sugar, 3 rupee living cost per month? Okay, the Lamai. No, it's very difficult, Lamai, right? So what I need to say, Lamai, when economy expands, population increases, there should be reasonable, fair, rate of increase in price level. This is called permanent one. That this is caused by increase in aggregate demand. It might be, growth in population. Okay, the Lamai. With time and when economic structure changes, when time passes, there should be favorable, no, not favorable. There should be, we can say, permanent, permanent, and very how to say that, like fair increase in prices, Lamai. There should be, because we can't expect same prices after 5 6 decades, after 5 6 decades, Lamai. So it should be. Okay, the Lamai. So that part is called non-reversible price changes. This is caused by, especially Lamai, as I told you, changes in economic structure, increase in aggregate demand, and increase in population. Okay, the Lamai. So this is very normal. This is usual. Okay, the Lamai. We need to, I mean, every economy should have this part. Okay, this is called permanent part or non-reversible. Okay, the Lamai. Price changes or permanent price change. This is very, as I told you, slow but sure. That's why it's called non-reversible permanent. Okay, the Lamai. So remember this headline inflation, which is measured based on your price index value, includes both of them. Temporary, the price changes caused by temporary supply shocks, such as war and cyclone and all. This is non-reversible. This is coming from this change in aggregate demand and change in population. You get the point? So, for the core inflation mean only this part, Lama. This is called core inflation. Core inflation mean, Lamai, after removing these temporary price fluctuations from your headline inflation, you can calculate core inflation. I'll explain how done. Okay, the Lamai. So remember, after removing these temporary price fluctuations from your headline inflation, Lamai, we can calculate core inflation. That this is the really important inflation rate when making long-term economic policies, because these are very short-term phenomenon, Lamai. Right? Example, I can remember, Lamai, 2023, 1 liter of petrol, 92 octane petrol liter, I think it went up to, Lamai, 464. Okay, the Lamai. Now it's 299, I think, not mistaken. Okay, the Lamai. Then you can see there's a reduction, Lamai, because this price went up due to Sri Lankan rupee depreciation during that time period, and world oil prices went up suddenly, Lamai. Okay, the Lamai. These are very temporary situations. These are supply shocks. So, when making economic policies, right, we have to prepare rate of inflation excluding this temporary price fluctuations. Temporary price fluctuation, that inflation rate is called core inflation. This rate is called core inflation. Any doubt? Am I? Any doubt?
No, sir.
No. Right. Sandeep? Ayapni?
No, sir.
Then my second point, headline inflation indicates that, if you want, write this down. I mean, with the chart on the board. Headline inflation, do you need time to write it down? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Take some few minutes and write it down. That non-reversible part, Lamai, that is natural. This is very natural part. If you want, write it down. This is very natural, Lamai. Okay? This part, permanent part, is very natural. When economy expands, we can see such a natural price, increase in general price level, prices of goods. Temporary price shocks, Sapuda, these are beyond control, beyond the control of central, beyond the control of monetary authorities, or we can say central banks. Government. No one can control this temporary price shock. Nothing to do with the temporary price supply shocks.
Done, sir.
Done. Sandeep? Right. Then Putha, read the second paragraph in the page, under the headline inflation. Headline inflation indicates a rate or a level of increase in the price of all consumer goods and services during a given period of time. Yes. It is important to identify that headline inflation rate is subject to, highlight this part, Lamai, rate is subject to temporary price fluctuations. Temporary price fluctuations due to changes in food and energy prices. Putha, highlight these two. Putha, when calculating core inflation in Sri Lanka, central bank removes prices of food and energy, right, from the basket of goods, because food and energy prices mean, Lamai, these are highly subject to temporary fluctuations. The highlight, I can remember there's one past paper asking what are the components, what are the main components removed by central bank, central bank or census of that Department of Census and Statistics when calculating core inflation. It was old past paper question, but food and energy, Lama. Okay. Caused by variety of reasons, Lama. What are the reasons? Number one, variety of reasons, price changes beyond control of financial authority, such as bad weather, external world changes, especially Lamai, political instability in the world. Now Lamai, world peace has gone away, Lamai. Geopolitics. Policy changes, supply shocks, administered prices, etc. That's temporary supply shock. Okay, the Lamai. Then put the co-inflation. Co-inflation means simple idea is we can say co-inflation. Don't write. Just listen me. Co-inflation is the inflation rate which is adjusted for this temporary price fluctuation. We can say, Lamai, uh, after removing, this temporary price changes in headline inflation, we can calculate rate of core inflation. Okay, right. Put a star mark and write down. Star mark. Core inflation. The concept of core inflation is based on the concept of core inflation. Concept of core inflation is based on the idea of identifying 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 the persistent find the persistent non-reversible non-reversible persistent non-reversible non-reversible trend of price movements 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 by separating it means removing lamai by separating by separating by separating short run fluctuations short run fluctuations short run fluctuations from the headline inflation from the headline from the headline clear the highlight here concept based on the idea of identify the persistent it's mean lamai under the core inflation rate we need to recognize how much that right permanent part lamai the price changes which is caused by that non reversible trend permanent trend or changes in economic structure by separating means removing lamai short run fluctuations from the headline inflation called core inflation then lamai since the impact of supply shocks is temporary it is inappropriate to base long term inflation demand management policies so we can't use headline inflation especially to make long term economic policies demand management policy especially monetary policy and fiscal policy lamai so it make data inaccurate and also inappropriate because these are very short term and uncontrollable out of control price changes on such changes without making any adjustment okay the lamai this is Puta, actually I haven't explained the way of estimating core inflation. Now you know the concept of core inflation. The central bank, I haven't given separate note to you, right, regarding this how to calculate core inflation. Puta, this is a way of calculating core inflation. No need separate note. Just remember. Uh, this is a way of estimating core inflation. Do you know that the basket of goods when preparing price index, there's a basket of good. දැන් මේක ඇතුලේ ඔක්කොම තියෙනවානේ ළමයි. reversible non එහෙම ඒවා නෑනේ ළමයි. මේක ඇතුලේ ඔක්කොම තියෙනවා. rice, transport cost, okayද ළමයි. energy prices, gas, electricity, water. Yes, Puta. Short term price fluctuations plus that long term trends in the economy. I mean, price caused by long term trends. Yes. But for economic decision making, headline is not much important due to this short temporary supply shocks. Clear? හරි. එතකොට මේ basket of goods මේකේ ඇතුලේ ඔක්කොම තියෙනවා ළමයි. rice තියෙනවා, transport cost තියෙනවා, expenses on gas, fuel, everything ළමයි. Okay? Then ළමයි, right, yes. Then ළමයි, when estimating core inflation, the Department of Census and Statistics පුතා removes some, especially removes goods and services. Goods and services which are, we can say, highly vulnerable or subject to price changes, short term price changes. Example, energy prices ළමයි. Prices. Then ළමයි, we can say food prices, especially ළමයි, rice, vegetables and all. Okay, the ළමයි. Then oil. These are the things that Department of Census and Statistics, removes from the basket. Okay, I'll repeat. When estimating core inflation, not central bank, the Department of Census and Statistics removes, right, the items which are vulnerable or highly subject to short-term price changes, price fluctuation. Because energy prices, food prices, example lamai, food prices. This directly connected with the bad weather lamai in Sri Lanka. Okay, the lamai. For 1 month, vegetables are too, the prices of vegetables are too low, cheap. In another time period lamai, after 2 weeks might be, it may be too expensive lamai. You get the point? So temporary lamai. So food and oil price, puta, oil is not produced by Sri Lanka. You have to import. That price of oil depends on number one, world market prices, and other one is the foreign currency depreciation. How foreign currency rate, the Sri Lankan rupee and exchange rate, the changes, movements, or the changes in exchange rate market. Okay, these are totally out of control, beyond the control. So when estimating core inflation, Sandil, the central bank, the Department of Census and Statistics removes this, goods and services which subject to these price changes, temporary price changes from basket of good, and give a new weight. Again, Lamaini, because after removing some goods, we have to give a new weighted average, because the method is weighted average. Removing these unnecessary parts from the basket of good, the new weight is given to this basket of good, and again lamai, the core inflation rate is calculated. Again, the price of good basket is calculated, then we can calculate the rate of core inflation. Are you okay with this? Especially remember lamai, energy prices and food prices are removed from the basket of goods, normal basket of goods, when calculating core inflation, and new weight is given to other goods and services which are in the basket of goods. Any doubt? If you want it, write it down. Energy, transport cost, price, coconut, fresh prices of fresh vegetables, fresh fruits, all are removed lamai from the basket of good, and new weight is given. Then central bank calculates core inflation rate, which shows that non-reversible permanent, okay, price movements in general price level. Are you okay with this?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sandil. Right, headline and core inflation is over, Puta. When there's a one past paper question, Lamai. Look at page number. I think it's last page, not mistaken. Yes, page number 20, 20, 20, 20. Lamai. Oh, 6 wala තියෙනවා question එක. Advanced level 2017. Distinguish between headline inflation and core inflation. ළමයි headline inflation core inflation අහනකොට ඔයා නිකන් ලියන්න එපා දැන් මොකක්ද headline inflation rate which is calculated based on price index, consumer price index, and it is not adjusted for temporary price or supply shocks. Core inflation is the inflation rate which is adjusted for short term supply shock. It's not enough, lamai, remember, right? You need to explain, okay, how is it done and the purpose. Okay, the lamai, why do we have to calculate such a, I mean, core inflation? Okay, the lamai, and what are the, especially the things which are removed from the basket of good. Okay, which part, I mean, the what is the most appropriate and used practically in decision making, especially making policies. You need to explain this everything, lamai. Okay, just definition not enough, lamai. Remember, now you have comprehensive idea, what it is. Any doubt? And this is 2018 paper question, lamai. What are the measures currently used in Sri Lanka to indicate the changes in general price level? Buddha is asking price indexes, right? Right, okay. Again, back to the lesson. Okay, the lamai, right. But I'll complete this part also. This is really, it's not much difficult, simple one. But this is a moderate, what is other one? Moderate, galloping and hyperinflation. Mean lamai, these rates, this the categorization is based on how fast is inflation taking place, how fast, intensity, that is called intensity rate of inflation. So the moderate inflation mean it's a very low level of inflation. Read it, lamai. This is situation where country experiences an average, moderate and relatively manageable, that is a word, manageable rate of inflation over long period of time. But this is good. This is called, but remember, it's not like lower, it should be low single digit. The memai lamai 9 කියන්නේ single digit එකක් නේ. හැබැයි low වෙන්න ඕනේ අර 4% 3% වගේ වුණා නම් ගොඩක් හොඳයි. moderate. In such situation, lamai, the process of forecasting changes in general price level becomes relatively easy, accurate, and therefore making interest rate and investment related decisions become highly effective. That's I told you. To run the economy smoothly, lamai, we need to have stable and low level of inflation. We can say that rate is moderate or moderate level of inflation. Any doubt, lamai? And also, lamai, that moderate level of inflation does not create much negative impacts on purchasing power. It reduces, but it's manageable. Any doubt? Sandil, Punara, Ayatmi?
No, sir.
Next one, Puta, galloping. This is a bit tough. Okay, the lamai, it's very difficult to control. Galloping inflation. Read it, lamai. This is a situation where country may experience relatively high rate of inflation. Relatively high rate of inflation, which may range from double to triple digit, 10 to 100% lamai, annual basis. Annual basis. Okay, the Buddha, this is galloping inflation. Actually, Buddha, Sri Lanka experience, went into galloping inflation because 70% annual inflation. Okay, the lamai. So what I need to say, lamai, this is central bank should be able to avoid this situation, lamai, as soon as possible. Galloping, if countries, if an economy moves, if country goes into a galloping inflation, type of galloping inflation, that situation is really dangerous, lamai. So the point is, lamai, thing is, if we can't control the economy, we don't do something, if central bank or any department, the financial authority, okay, the lamai, does not pay much attention on galloping inflation or avoiding galloping inflation, lamai, if you need, it will end up with higher hyper. That is totally uncontrollable, beyond control, lamai. If one country or economy comes into a hyperinflation third part, lamai, that's the end of the economy. Okay, what happened to that? Can you remember Zimbabwe story, lamai? Finally, Zimbabwe had to cancel the currency, Zimbabwean dollar, I think. Okay, the lamai, and move into the barter system finally. No, I mean Zimbabwe did not move. I mean, if hyperinflation mean lamai killer of the hyper, no, actually in during hyperinflation time period, lamai, no need to calculate inflation, very crazy number, right? I'll show you. I'll share the screen, like 500,000% or no many rates, lamai, very pointless to calculate inflation, inflation in Zimbabwe. That is 15% mean now, right? I'm talking about the inflation rate like 2012, 2013, right? Now Zimbabwe is getting better. Can you these photos, Lam? I think I might have explained this. Can you see these pictures, Buddha? This is the how economy worked during hyperinflation time period in Zimbabwe. Can you see that, Lama? There's wheelbarrow. Very very common story, Lama. නේද ළමයි? මිනිස්සු අර wheelbarrow එක තමයි සල්ලි අරන් යන්නේ මොනවා හරි ගන්න. Real. Finally, Zimbabwe had to cancel the currency, and the new one was introduced, I think. Okay, the lamai. That's just very crazy, lamai. If you calculate, if you go through inflation rate of Zimbabwe in 2012, 2010, lamai, crazy number. Okay, that's why I told you, if country goes to a hyperinflation, very difficult. Okay, the lamai. And don't ask Zimbabwe, if Zimbabwe uh, went into hyperinflation, how Zimbabwe, how did Zimbabwe get rid of or came back to normal? It took time, Lamai. How many years now? 16, 17 years. Okay, can you see this dollar, this note, Lamai? $100 trillion. Can you, how many zeros, Lamai, for this now? How many now? Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe, right? That's the situation of hyper. Okay, okay, the Lamai. So galloping inflation, Puta, the main economic cost of such galloping rates of inflation tends to be the rapid depreciation of its purchasing power reduces no, at a massive, the higher rate. But people use money as a medium of exchange, not completely rejected. Still, galloping inflation, people believe, right? Uh, Currency as a medium of exchange. Okay, the lamai, and the demand for money in this situation shall sharply decrease because for the people here people demands money in the situation of galloping inflation, but not much because value of money shall sharply decrease, lamai. That's why the finally the Zimbabwe had to cancel the currency, lamai. අවුරුදු ගණන් ගන්න නෑ ළමයි. දැන් ඔය පොඩි 10 රුපී නෝට් එකක් කොයින් එකක් වගේ දැම්පොත් දෙකේ කාසිය ගන්න නැහැ නේද ළමයි අහුල්ලා ගන්නවා. සන්දීප් පාරේ වැටලා තිබ්බ දැක්කොත් එහෙම ගන්නවා. 10 රුපී 5 ගන්නෙත් නෑ ළමයිනේ. 5න් අහගෙන යනවා නේද? ඇයි? ඒකට වැලියු එකක් තේරුණාද? that note or currency, the coin does not make any sense. You cannot buy anything now, right? So then in Zimbabwe lamai, it happened to even $1,000 trillion note lamai, right? Finally the people disposed strip away, right? Like garbage lamai. Okay, the lamai, because no value for money, right? Right, anyway, remember the galloping inflation lamai. If central bank feels that country is moving towards galloping inflation lamai, it's serious situation. Central bank has to immediately over to because the reason lamai, if it goes to hyperinflation, no hopes again. Any doubt? Kunara, Sandil?
No, sir.
Hyperinflation lamai, a situation extremely high rate of inflation, extremely, that's a crazy number, right? Monthly rate of inflation may reach double or monthly, yeah, monthly rate, monthly inflation rate will reach to triple digit values, where the internal value of money rapidly decreases to level where general public shall reject money as a medium of exchange and may revert back to a barter system. Okay, the lamai, an uncontrolled rate of inflation which leads to overall collapse of the monetary economy. That's the end of the monetary economy, end of the monetary economy, in money based economy, right? It's mean money is not used as a medium of exchange, as a store of value, or as a standard of deferred payment anymore. Finish. As a end of collapse of the monetary hyperinflation. Okay, the lamai, right? Then this is summary puta. Factor, moderate, galloping, and hyper. Inflation rate puta moderate 3 to 5, galloping 100 to 10 to 100%. Puta hyperinflation write down. Hyperinflation, very pointless to calculate inflation, but normally lama this is generally accepted rate. Hyperinflation means lamai 10% to 10% rate to 10% to 1,000% inflation monthly puta, monthly, not annually. Yeah, if you want to calculate annual value, multiply this value by 12. Okay, this is monthly. This is generally accepted rule. Monthly value, monthly. Monthly. Value of money, internal value of money is mean my purchasing power. Moderate means stable. Galloping reduces. Hyper, in hyper lamai, it becomes 0 or nil, nothing. Right? Write down, becomes 0. Becomes 0. Okay, the Buddha becomes 0. Okay, we can say nil. Nil. Right. Money as a store of value. Buddha in the moderate level of inflation, it's stable. People use money as a store of value. Second function of money, effective as a medium, money as a store of wealth, no any issue. In the galloping inflation, the level of, the rate of galloping, like 100 to a yearly rate, 10 to 100%. But that reduces, right? People don't like to use money as a store of wealth, but not rejected lamai. Okay, still accepted. Savings එහෙම අවුලක් නෑ ළමයි. තාම තියෙනවා. මිනිස්සු කැමති නෑ. Still accept. පුතා during hyperinflationary time period ළමයි it rejected. People don't like to save or people don't like to accumulate their wealth in cash. Okay, the ළමයි rejected right now. Rejected money as a store of wealth during a hyperinflationary time period. Demand for money, liquidity preference, moderate level of inflation mean healthy or high. People demand money. Why do people demand money? Sandeep? Transaction motive, precautionary motive, and speculative motive. Right? People need money. People are demanding money in the moderate level of inflation. Galloping inflation lamai demand for money reduces. Sorry, interest rate, right? Interest rate volatility low. Moderate inflation means lamai low level of inflation stable. During the galloping inflation lamai rate of inflation it starts to increase. If you can remember 2022 financial crisis, during financial crisis lamai uh, while inflation was rising lamai, the interest rate also started to rise. Okay, it went up to 35%, if I'm not mistaken, maximum bank interest. Okay, the lamai. So during galloping inflation time period, inflationary time period, rate of interest rate also increases lamai. During hyperinflation lamai, very high. It's very difficult to calculate even. Write down very high. Inflation rate, sorry, interest rate volatility, very high. Okay, the lamai. And also lamai, it does not remain constant. එක රොකට් එකක් වගේ increase වෙනවා. Interest rate volatility. Demand for money high reduces in hyperinflationary time period lamai becomes zero or nil. Becomes zero or nil. Nil mean nothing lamai. මිනිස්සු සල්ලි ගණන් ගන්න නෑ ළමයි පාරේ විසි කරලා යනවා ඩිමාන්ඩ් එකක් නෑ සල්ලි වැඩක් නෑ කියන එක medium of exchange එකක් විදිහට use කරන්නත් බෑ ඒක store of value නෑ ඒක loan pay කරන්න ගන්නත් බෑ වැඩක් comes nil. No demand for money. Last one lamai money as a medium of exchange in the moderate level of inflation, yes, but people like to use money as a medium of exchange. Galloping is also okay lamai accepted but not much. In the hyperinflation lamai, money as a medium of exchange is rejected. Okay, the lamai rejected. Any doubt lamai? Any question? Yes, Puta. Do you have a class? Can't they make it back to normal from your from hyperinflation? And it's difficult, Puna. It's really difficult. I can say it's impossible. That's why I told you, Puta. Puta, Sandil, why Puta? Do you need to leave? Interest rate ද ළමයි interest rate පුතා සාමාන්‍යයෙන් වෙන්නේ සන්දිල් inflation rate එක increase වෙනකොට interest rate එකත් increase වෙනවා. මොකද වෙන්නේ inflation අපේ කතා කරා නේද inflation මතකද මේ මේකේ හරි හරි. පුතා shall I take 5 minutes more from your time? Is it okay for you? Time is 4.
Yes, sir, it's fine.
Fine. But are you okay with this table? I'll explain the interest rate story. No issue with this, right? But that there is a concept called uh, nominal interest rate and real interest rate, Sandeep. Nominal interest rate and real interest. හරිද ළමයි? මොනවාද? Nominal interest and real interest. මොනවාද ළමයි? Interest rates, nominal and real. Nominal interest, nominal interest and real interest rate. පුතා, nominal interest rate is the interest rate which is given by banks. තව බැංක් එකට ගියාම කියනවනේ fixed deposit එකක් තියෙනවා සර් ඉන්න. අපි දෙන්නම් වාට 12.5 annual rate එක. මේ කියන්නේ ළමයි nominal interest. හරිද? මේක තමයි nominal interest. Assume 12.5 on fixed deposits ළමයි. 1 year fixed deposit you are given 12.5 rate of interest. Now this is called nominal. Nominal mean ළමයි this is not adjusted for rate of inflation. Clear the ළමයි? Real interest rate no? Real interest rate means real interest rate is calculated with the nominal interest rate R mean interest rate minus inflation rate minus inflation so that this real interest rate indicates the real benefit for you from saving. මේක ලොකු ස්ටෝරි එකක් ළමයි. දැන් මෙහෙම හිතන්නකෝ. ඔයා 1000 rupees save කරනවා. හිතන්න 2025. හිතන්න සන්දිල ඔයාගේ හරි 1000 rupees saved, right, on 1st of January. Assume monthly interest rate is 10% සන්දිල. 10% කියන්නේ මම ඉක්මනට කැල් කරනවා. 10% කියන්නේ 100. After 1 year your total value of saving will be 1100 ළමයි. Okay, assume price of one rice unit is 200%, 200 at the beginning of the year. Then lamai inflation rate of the economy, just imagine, then don't ask though there's a high rate of inflation, price of rice may not increase. 200, assume lamai inflation rate is 100%. Inflation rate is 100% something. Inflation rate 100% mean lamai 200 price becomes 400. Now can you calculate real value or purchasing power? How to calculate purchasing power? Real income. Real income. How to calculate real income? The nominal value divided by price. Nominal value divided by price. Here lamai 2020 at the beginning of the year, this person Sandil can buy 5 units of rice, 5 kilos of rice, but after 1 year you can buy only how much lamai? 1100. Your the amount after even saving, sorry, interest rate 1100, but price of one rice unit 400. Then how many units can you buy? Even not 3, 2 point something. Just imagine 2.5. Then what happens to your real income lamai? Real income falls. Clear? Again, inflation එකක් තියනකොට ඔයාට interest දුන්නා කියලා වැඩක් නෑ සම්දි. ඉතින් ඔයාට තේරෙනවා. ඔක අර සාමාන්‍යයට නම් ඔක තේරෙන්නේ නැති වෙයි. 10%, 20% interest මම බය වෙනවා ළමයි. මාර opportunity එම නෑ ළමයි. Clear? If inflation rate is greater than your interest rate, you will get nothing. Okay, ළමයි. You will lose your money. I'm talking about real value, not this nominal value. We can't do anything with nominal value. It's just value. අයි මර පෙන්නුවේ ළමයි සිම්බාබ්වේගේ 1 million trillion dollar එහෙම වැඩක් නෑ ළමයි. trillion නෙමෙයි මොනවා වුණත් වැඩක් නෑ. Nominal value doesn't make any sense. Real value is the important one. So what I need to say ළමයි, before you save one day, even you can instruct and advise your parents to calculate real interest rate. Calculate real interest rate. Don't make decisions based on nominal interest rate, right? Ask the nominal interest rate, assume 12.5. Then deduct your average inflation rate from that nominal interest rate. Assume nominal interest rate 12.5, inflation rate 6%. Then Sandil, your net benefit of saving is 6.5%. Remember, this is called real interest. So remember, Lamai, when people save, they need to consider real interest rate. So what I need to say, Lamai, during higher rate of inflation, right? The period of high inflation, Lamai, to attract more savings, right? To attract more savings. දැන් හිතන්න ළමයි මේ inflation එක 10% වලට හිතන්න 10% වලට increase වෙනවා. 10% වලට increase වෙනවා. එතකොට දැන් කැල් කරන්න real interest rate එක ළමයි 12.5 is the nominal interest rate minus inflation rate. How much the inflation rate? 10% ළමයි. Now real interest rate is 2.5 ළමයි. Clear? Actually now that real value of saving has decreased from 6.5 to 2.5. Then lamai, people are not willing to save money now. Why? The real interest rate has decreased. 6.5 now 2.5. Right? So if give me one. Right, sorry. So this 6.5 reduces to 2.5. So if banks want to attract more savings, lamai, bank has only one option. What is option, Sandeep? Bank has to increase this nominal interest rate. Clear the lamai. The inflation rate එක මෙතනින් increase වෙනවා නම් real interest rate එක decrease වෙනවනේ ළමයි. එතකොට මිනිස්සු කැමති නෑ save කරන්න. එතකොට තමයි අර යාලා ගන්න ළමයි ඔය එතකොට දැන් real එක අඩුයි නම් if real interest rate, the real value of saving reduces ළමයි, people try to invest their money in short term investment sources. What are the short term investments? Not long term. Gold එහෙම ගන්න ළමයි. Clear the ළමයි. Land, gold, especially gold. Okay, the ළමයි. Then this excess funds are transferred to gold market. Clear the ළමයි. So what I need to say, during higher rate of inflationary time period, if during higher rate of inflationary time period, real interest rate goes down. Real interest rate goes down. Okay, the ළමයි. So if banks want to attract more savings, Sandil, banks have to offer higher rate of interest. Then what I need to say, when inflation rate goes up, banks have to increase interest rate as well. You get the point? Otherwise, they cannot attract savings. That's why during financial crisis of Sri Lanka 2022, when inflation rate increased, what happened to when inflation rate went up, interest rate also went up. Are you okay with this? Any doubt? Okay, Buddha, that's enough today. I think we will be able to complete the lesson. It's clear, right? No, it's clear. No clear, or no, it's clear. Now clear. Okay, that's enough today. See you next Saturday, right? Yeah. Okay, Lamai, that's enough today. Thank you for coming. Bye. See you next day.
Thank you, sir.
Punara, it just what happened you?
I had a connection issues.
Okay, right. I just completed the class, wind up the class. Okay, right. Okay, Buddha, see you next day. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye.
sir. Record.